Let's win our week on Sunday. Who are the stream guys to pay attention to get that victory to end week 5? Michael Bolton is closely guarding the answers.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and after this show ends, I'm ready to crack open, break off a little chunk of a caramello koala. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky, joshlloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Check out LockedOnDaily.com as well for your newsletter for your favorite team. Sign up, get the newsletter delivered every day or 5 days a week on your favorite team, all the info that you need, and of course, you're double banging and you're thumbing and you're commenting and all of that great, exciting stuff. So we're talking Sunday in the NBA. That is where we're at. Let's take a look at how we pay, what we do for points leagues, for category leagues, all the different categories that we're looking to stream in to get that individual victory. I did the Week 6 preview show earlier today, so we covered a little bit of how we approach Week 6 there as well. But we'll start this show also early games tomorrow. We've got a 3:30 p.m. Eastern game. We have got a 5 p.m. Eastern game. And we have got a 6 p.m. Eastern game, and then a 7:30, and then whatever this other one is that I don't care to convert that time. I think 9 p.m. Eastern. So it's a bit of a weird day again. Early starts on Sunday across the NBA. Let's take a look, just a little bit of schedule stuff to sort of make some ideas or plans to end week 5 and kick off week 6. 6 guys available in numerous leagues that we've got the Sunday, Monday back-to-back that we can pay a little bit of attention to. We go to Naji Marshall, TJ McConnell, Vanderpants Kevin Huerter, Chris Dunn, Neemias Queta, and Kevin Porter Jr. Now, Al Horford literally might miss both. He's questionable for Sunday, and it's a back-to-back, so he's definitely missing one of them. So if the illness is actually something that persists, you might get Queta and Cornette getting real value there. Luka Doncic is out, so that means Marshall gets the boost. You've got Neesmith and Nembhard dealing with stuff, and Shepherd for Indiana. Malik Monk might return, but Kevin Huerter just, who knows with that guy, but 2 games, you might get one good one. Chris Dunn and Kevin Porter with Norman Powell out at least one of those games. You've got some value there as well. I think Powell might miss both at the moment. He's only ruled out of one. If we just get a little bit chunky here, and we go Sunday through to Friday, that is 5 game days. Thursday has 0 games on. These are players that have 3 games across that time frame. So Kevin Huerter, Jaime Jaquez, TJ McConnell, Jaden McDaniels is available in some leagues, and I just think he needs to be rostered at this point. Chris Dunn and Neemias Queta, the Pastel de Nata, is an option for us there to get those little 3 game in 5 game night boost onto your team. Try and build that value up. Remembering, of course, that Wednesday is a 14 game day, but I did not include Wednesday in this 3 game periods. So these guys all have 3 games excluding Wednesday. So you get the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Friday combo. So remember that part of it, which I think is relatively key, I would say. Now we can get in and we can actually just daily stream. What are we paying attention to? How are we approaching this from a points league perspective? We'll start at Yahoo Points. And, okay, so here's another data point to try and figure out activity levels in Yahoo. Jared McCain, who is, according to Basketball Monster, 100% rostered on our advanced roster number, of course, because he's been cooking. On Yahoo, he sits at 55%. 55%. So, I wasn't sure. I still don't really know the active percentage on Yahoo, but 55% is an interesting indicator. Would McCain be rostered in every single active league? I would have to think yes, or close enough. So we're not topping 60% leagues active on Yahoo because he wouldn't have been drafted in any. He's been added up in 55%. So I would say we're sitting between 55 and 60 active. So as a general rule, then I'm going to use 40% rostered on Yahoo as an indicator for a lot of leagues. Look, there'll be some of you that obviously if there's 55 to 60% active, if someone's sitting at 48% rostered, then he'll be available in your league. It might be an 8-team league or whatever it is that you've got. But I think if I hit 40, it's a decent enough number given we're at, say, 55 active. If I do 40% Yahoo roster number, I think that's not a bad approach. Let me know if I'm wrong. Malcolm Brogdon, I don't like the fact that they started him over Bub Carrington. It doesn't make any sense. And I know what people are going to say. Well, Josh, they're trying to win games. Are they? They're still lost. Why are they trying to win games? No point. Okay. They're trying to trade showcase Malcolm Brogdon. Really? So they needed to start him to do that? Because we've never seen Malcolm Brogdon play, ever. Never seen him. Hasn't played. The Wizards actually traded for Brogdon with him only playing 30 games last season. Remember that part of it. And I actually had someone tell me this, which again, the idea is crazy. They know what they have in Bub Carrington, so they're putting Brogdon into the starting lineup to try and trade him. Brogdon, who's played 10 years in the NBA, versus Carrington, who's played 15 games. The twisting of minds, again, what GM is going there on the phone with the Wizards, and the Wizards GM goes, hey, we've got this guy, I don't know if you've seen him, Malcolm Brogdon. Just watch the next couple of games and see, you might not have heard of him. What do you think? Oh, mate, who's this Brogdon? Oh, yeah, we'll take him. And I know what some of you are going to say, well, the people want to see whether he's able to stay healthy. I'll give you the tip, he can't. And the more you play him, the more he gets hurt. But also, what are you actually getting back for Brogdon at this point in the trade versus moving Bub Carrington back and forward? Well, I thought he was playing pretty well in that lineup. It's just veteran deferment, which is really frustrating. Anyway, if Brogdon is going to be starting, and I don't think his overall upside is super, super high this season, and it's only going to be short term, try it. Especially for Yahoo Points on Sunday. Let's do it. Let's get him in. Let's see what happens. Timothy John McConnell, that is. He's an interesting option here with absences in Indiana. You could have a look at him. Again, you've got no Nembhard, you've got no Neesmith, you've got no Ben Shepherd, who's been ruled out as well. So an option there. Just by the way, also, Jordan Poole, questionable for Washington. So that's another one to watch. Kevin Huerter's on this list. Jaime Jaquez is on this list. Jaquez has been very disappointing this season. We haven't seen Miami play in 10 years. Rozier is dealing with an alleged foot problem. And Jimmy Butler's actually you wouldn't read about it. Jimmy Butler's actually popped up as questionable with an illness. A shocking development there that Jimmy might not play. So Jaquez might get a boost. Kelly Oubre with no Paul George is there. And then Gershon Yabusele, who started in place of Joel Embiid. And no guarantee whether he starts in this one against the Clippers and Zubats. Maybe they put Drummond out there, but Yabusele can play the 4 and the 5. So I do like him as a Yahoo Points League stream guy for Sunday. For ESPN points, it's a lot of the same names and the descriptions I just gave you. So TJ McConnell and Malcolm Brogdon sit up the top there with those absences. Neesmith, Nembhard, and Shepherd for Indiana. And then, maybe Poole out, but Brogdon also starting. Kevin Huerter and Jaquez. And then I've got Naji Marshall in there. There is no Luka Doncic. Marshall was pretty good last game. That's an unrealistic expectation what he did in the last game, but just a couple of extra minutes. Also, Klay Thompson. Yeah, Klay Thompson. I think you're going to see plenty of games where Klay is benched for Naji, not benched to start a game, but benched to close a game, so that Naji Marshall's defense can come in there. Klay went scoreless last game. He's been, outside of 3 games this season, he's been pretty bad. And he's not, Klay, going to be playing 30 minutes a night consistently, I don't think. So that does boost Naji Marshall in this position as another option for us there. I'm going to come back in a sec, and I'm going to talk to you guys about category leagues and streaming in the individual categories. But today's episode is brought to you by one of my favorite sponsors, and that is Skims. Because who doesn't like to talk about underwear? It's annoying, underwear. We all wear it. Men, you've had to dig and find and honestly be left behind at times in terms of the underwear technology revolution. But finding comfy undies is huge. And Skims for Men brings all that stuff that they do in their other line, their women's line, into for men. You've got the different cuts, boxer briefs and boxers and just full briefs and the cotton material, or what do they even call this other material they've got? They've got the different, the stretch material. They've got the 5 inches, the 3 inches, the cotton briefs, all of these different cuts, colors, materials, finding that comfort level, which, if you find a comfy pair of undies, you'd love them. And that's what you're going to do with Skims for Men. So Skims Men's at skims.com. /LockedOnNBA. You let them know that we sent you as well, and after you place your order in the survey, select podcast, and in the drop-down menu, select our show that follows. And if you're looking for that perfect gift for the whole family, Skims, they just launched their biggest holiday shop ever, which is also available at skims.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, so let's talk about streaming in here for category leagues. Go through the major 8 categories and just some options that are available for all of you legends out there. And we start with the points category. I think with the potential absence of maybe Jordan Poole, that Malcolm Brogdon, who's going to start, is going to be up there. And I think he's just going to be an annoying thorn in our sides. And I think someone had a stat the other day of Kuzma and Brogdon and maybe Valanciunas taking like 80 shots or something in 3 games. Just unbelievable mismanagement by this team. Regardless, who cares? It's happening, and Brogdon's worth looking at. Kelly Oubre is not a very good player. I think you're well aware of what I think of Kelly Oubre as an actual player and even a fantasy player, but he is going to have scoring opportunities. Tyrese Maxey might still be ramping up minutes. Embiid is out and George is out. And there's one thing that Oubre does, and there is only one thing. That's score, or at least put himself in a position to score by taking a lot of shots. So we take a crack. Kevin Porter Jr. is also probably going to be somewhat inefficient, but with absences to Norman Powell and Kawhi Leonard, of course, Porter's minutes are pushing up, and that gives him scoring opportunities. Gershon Yabusele actually projects pretty well as a scoring option for Sunday, which I didn't really expect that to be the case. The Sixers are playing the Clippers in this one. Yabusele is an interesting player who played really good minutes last time out. It might not happen. Maybe it's Drummond that gets more of those minutes, but I do like him there. And you can see there is a drop-off. After Brogdon, Oubre, and Porter at the top of that list, the next bunch of scorers is not as good. There's always going to be a random pop-off player at some point, which is impossible to try and guess. We're just going for safety and floor and probabilities. Jaime Jaquez, like maybe a 15-point guy. And if Jimmy's out, maybe he does more, although he's been pretty bad even in games that Jimmy's been out. And then Amir Coffey, who popped off in the first game without Norm Powell, was pretty quiet in the second one. But opportunity is what we look for. Like if he could play 28 minutes as a starter, maybe he gets 17 points, maybe he gets 11. But opportunity is really what it's about. Like, it wouldn't be crazy to me that the best waiver wire guy for the Clippers is double Onyx, Diamond, Platinum, Titanium legend Jordan Miller. Like, that is distinctly possible, but it's also unlikely, right? So yeah, like if you're in those diamond leagues, then Jordan Miller might be that random guy that you take a crack at who's not rostered anywhere. But in terms of the balance of probabilities, it's Porter and Coffey, and then you go down to a Terrence Mann after that if you're looking for just scoring. So yeah, I think that's the best way. It's not never going to be foolproof. Shout out Lindy Waters, but it is going to be. I think right the majority of the time, which is what we try to do. What about if we're streaming in 3-pointers? Well, I got some good news for you. If your name is Sam, you're probably going to be high on this list. Oh, look at that. The top 2 names, Sam Merrill and Sam Hauser. Find yourself a white guy called Sam for a 3-point stream. Injuries still hitting the Cavs. We've got still Karis LeVert is out. Isaac Okoro is questionable. Strus is out. Dean Wade is out. So opportunities for Merrill here. He's an option for us. Sam Hauser in Boston. We might not have Al Horford, and Hauser's minutes were up last game. More than Pritchard, I believe he played. Duncan Robinson. If Jim Butler is out, Duncan will play more, and 28 minutes of Dunk gets you, let's say, 6 threes upside. Let's talk about the upside on threes for these guys. I'd say it's 6 for Merrill. Upside, I'd say it's 4 for Hauser. I'd say it's 6 or 7 for Robinson. The other one's Corey Kispert, who they played like for 15 or 18 minutes last game. Really bad. If Jordan Poole is out, I think we do get more Kispert. Obviously, that would mean more Bub as well. But Kispert's a 5-3 upside play. It's a little bit harder for him to do considering they've cut his minutes back, which I don't actually care about. Michael Conley is out again for Minnesota with this toe injury. So Nickeil Alexander-Walker is going to start again. And while last game was not particularly good, he could be a 12.33 guy, maybe. And the other one is Keyshawn George, who's, again, minutes have been cut. Because why would you want to cut the minutes of a guy who showed so much as a first-round pick on a tanking team when you can run Kyle Kuzma out there to have 15 points on 21 shots? Keyshawn George is at least a 3-point streaming option here, I believe. But, of course, upside is limited because of the way the Wizards run things. If we are streaming in rebounds, even though the big avocado has been bad for most of this season, He's still a very strong rebounder. He's not as good as he was, but he's still a really strong rebounder. Andre Drummond, so we can look at that. Caleb Barton's had a couple of double-digit rebound games, and without Paul George, he has to do a lot more of that. And then Gershon Yabusele. So obviously, no Embiid, no George. Plenty of rebound opportunities in Philadelphia. The top three names there, Drummond, Martin, Yabusele, they're all Philadelphia 76ers players. And it's because, Maxey and McCain and Oubre, really, they're not very good rebounders. I got Neemias Queta there. You throw Luke Cornett into that mix as well, especially if Al Horford is out. Jarris Walker, who's been... that's been actually not a bad category, but the start to his career has been incredibly disappointing. He is playing some more minutes at the moment, but it hasn't really elevated that much. And then you go to Jaime Jaquez. So there is a big drop-off between the Drummond, Martin, Yabusele group at the top there versus, or even Queta, who's a double-digit upside rebound player, versus Walker and Jaquez, who might be 6 or 7 rebounds as a best-case scenario. If you go to assists, it's a completely different player pool there. Number 1 is TJ McConnell and number 2 is Malcolm Brogdon. I think that's relatively self-explanatory. TJ gets his 22, 23 minutes. He gets 5 to 6 assists. Brogdon could have 7 of them, especially if Jordan Poole is out. So that's literally what these guys do. So there's value there. And then even in Toronto, I don't think we need to be holding Davion Mitchell as a long-term thing, even though Quickly is out because they started Scott Barnes at point guard. But Davion Mitchell still played his 27 minutes off the bench and got 7 or 8 assists, I think it was, in the last game. You don't expect that. I think you're more of looking at a 5 assist sort of a player, but there's clearly 8 assists upside because we just got it from him. So he's there in that spot. In Cleveland, with those absences again, you're going to get more milk. Ty Jerome, whose assist rate is pretty good. It's not as good as McConnell's or Brogdon's or those guys, but he's in a pretty decent spot, I would say, milk, to get some extra playing time and be useful for us in this scenario. Nickeil Alexander-Walker's going to get that starting job, I'm guessing, in Minnesota again with Conley out. And then Kevin Porter Jr., there's 6 or 7 assists upside in KPJ. We've seen that quite a few times over the last couple of games from him. We'll come back, we'll do steals, we'll do blocks, we'll do field goal percentage, we'll do free throw percentage, but I'm going to tell you that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Get ready to tackle all of the NFL action with FanDuel, America's number 1 sportsbook, because right now you can get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. So go ahead and open that FanDuel Sportsbook app. You can see everything you need there to place those live bets on the NFL. The bets are there. That's probably the number 1 thing that you need. And secondly, you've got all the live stats and all of the live play-by-play information on the FanDuel app. So crack it open, have a look, get ready, get your hunches going. Not like Notre Dame. Go and get your hunch going, have a look, open up the app, take a crack. All that information you need is there, and get those $150 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. So go to FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. Today's episode is also brought to you by the GameTime app. Maybe you do want to go and watch a game at Notre Dame in South Bend. Live game. See your favorite team be at touchdown Jesus. Maybe that's what you want to do. Well, GameTime Picks helps you. GameTime Picks cuts out the fluff. It shows you the good tickets. It shows you the good options for you instead of having to waste your time trying to find the good values. We already know they've got the views from your seat where you can click on a ticket and see what you got to see from that particular position in the stadium /arena / concert hall / whatever. But now the GameTime Picks, plus the event cancellation protection, plus the lowest price guarantee where you get 110% of the difference credited back if you find that same seat in the same row at a cheaper price somewhere else. So many different options, and they all help you to take the guesswork out of buying tickets. And you do that with GameTime Picks. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create the account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download GameTime today. What time is it? Game time. All right. Let's go through and finish off these little streaming options. We'll go on to steals now. A lot of names that you would expect here. And Keon Ellis was absolutely back to being not even a glitter-covered turd, just a pure turd in the last game. And there is a chance that Malik Monk returns here. But if you're looking for someone to snag 2 to 3 steals even in 17 minutes, that's what Ellis does. We're definitely not holding him in 12-teamers, but there is an opportunity to stream him in to get that. I said that Jarris Walker gets some rebounds, and he does. The other thing he can do is get steals. And extra minutes, elevated minutes, means that Jarris Walker's got to be on our radar for that. We can also go to the Clippers and look at Chris Dunn. Again, this is what he does. Dunn's not a bad assist play. You might get 5 of those, but you can get 4. You can get 5 steal upside, and that's what we want. All of these guys, Alice, Walker, Dunn, they all have 5 steal upside. That doesn't mean they've got really, the likelihood of hitting 5 is not there, but they can do it. TJ McConnell's probably more of a 3 steal upside player, maybe 4. Although, actually, that's a lie. Didn't TJ have a 10 steal game? I'm not saying he's got 10 steal upside, but yeah, he had a 10 or 9 steal game a year or so ago. So yeah, we're talking big upside with those guys. After them, the next 2, not as interesting. Naji Marshall, maybe a 2 to 3 steal guy, good defender, not a super high steal guy. And then, if you want to get really, really into your double diamond, Onyx, platinum, titanium type scenarios, and by now you guys have already added this guy, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But Quentin Jackson, he probably gets another start. Last game, he didn't shoot 80%, so he only played 22 minutes. But what he is he is not a great shooter, but he is a defensive sort of a player who, with Ben Shepherd out, they're using quite a bit in that role. And again, 2 to 3 steals is a possibility for Quentin Jackson there. And maybe you can beat your other double chocolate chunk titanium platinum cookies. Maybe you can go look at those guys. I think I've lost my mind. Let's talk about blocks. You just need to find the guys that block shots. Oh, no shit, Josh, of course. Mo Bamba. Is he good? Nah. Can he block 3 shots in 18 minutes? Yes. So, we take a crack. Luke Cornett, Neemias Queta. If Al Horford's out, both of them are in play. But what we've seen is Queta playing 18 minutes and Cornett playing 6 if Horford is in. Now, that could change immediately. So, with all these spuds, Bamba and Queta, and no offense to these blokes, or even Alice, we know that at any point, the coaches can just say, nah, we'll do something different. They're not locked in. They don't have organizational equity. They're not like, well, you're actually awesome, so we've got to make sure you play. Queta something might have happened, and Sneaky Joe Mazzulla's gone, we're actually going Xavier Tillman today, and we have no idea. But the pattern that we've seen and the production we've seen has been up and down, but there's just little bits and pieces. But it's always a risk with those sort of players. After those 2, Bamba and Queta, you can throw Cornett in there too. It gets a little bit iffy. Keon Ellis, pretty good blocker. Blocker? Sounds so whack. That sounds terrible. Blocker. Shot blocker, that's better. But he's a guard. So, the upside's not as high. Keyshawn George. He's had some really interesting block numbers as a wing. But he might get 1. The wiki, Chris Boucher. He sort of resurrected a little bit. And with Bruno Fernando and Kelly Olynyk dealing with injuries, Boucher's playing a little bit more center. At this point, he's probably only a 2-block sort of a player. Or 2-block upside, but that's there. And then Jarris Walker, again, he can't do anything offensively, but he can rebound and he can do some defensive stat things, and that's where we take a look at old mate Jarris. It is jarring to look at the best field goal percentage stream guys and see a point guard at the top, but that is what TJ McConnell does. He never takes threes. He just takes shots that he can make in the paint, and they go in. And he routinely has been a good field goal percentage player. So, yeah, it's a weird assists, steals, field goal percentage combo that TJ brings. Neemias Queta's there. KJ Martin is there. Obi Toppin, who sees his minutes absolutely slashed because, again, he's terrible. What a waste of a contract that was they gave him. But he's usually a pretty high field goal percentage player. You've got Luke Cornett, and then, much like TJ, Old Milk, Ty Jerome. The percentages for him have been out of control this season as well. I do believe they'll come down, because I am never going to tell you that I think that someone's a 53% three-point shooter long-term, which is what Jerome is, because I'm almost certain no one's ever done that in NBA history on volume. I don't think anyone's ever done that. Last season, Grayson Allen, 46, I think. I don't think anyone's... Check me. Maybe I'll Google this later on. I don't think anyone's had a 50% shooting season on volume. But anyway, Ty Jerome's doing that, so it's kind of cool. But at the moment, we're getting decent field goal percentage out of him. And lastly, we will take a look at the free throw percentage. Amir Coffey, Sam Merrill, Duncan Robinson, all of those guys have opportunity to get some okay minutes, which means a couple of free throw attempts to help you in that category. You go to Milk there as well, Malcolm Brogdon, and then, again, a real deepy one, we go to Jaden Hardy for the double Onyx, Platinum, Diamond, Titanium type leagues. Someone said, what about if I'm in a rusted, torn up, coffee stained envelope type of league? Well, then in that case, maybe try a Steph Curry if you're looking for free throw percentage in one of those formats. That is our look ahead for Sunday. Hopefully, you're able to get some guys in and get that win and pre-plan yourself for the week ahead for week 6 as well. Hit the thumb on this and leave your comments. Tell me what you thought. Tell me if you got any things to add to it. And of course, remember, as I leave you for, what day is it? Saturday? Here, I would have all my recaps written up on Buzzword Monster, but no show today on the recap. But remember, be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. But remember to remind yourself right? Pick one thing that you did. What was it that was good? We all do something good every day. And it's such a better feeling. It's such a better feeling to actually like focus on the good versus beating yourself up for the bad. We are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.